From Del Rio, Texas, Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded live Saturday, 25 October 2014, episode 119. What a load! Well, welcome everybody. It's time again for another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive, and I am your host, the one and only Rob Wade, and you might notice that the chair next to me is conspicuously vacant, and that's because my co-host Robert is doing his police augmentee or sheriff augmentee type duties with an event going on in town, so he's otherwise occupied. He wasn't here last week because he forgot we had a podcast or a netcast that weekend. He got his weekends confused. Of course, we were off 2 weeks ago for the annual Upstagers meeting of the membership, etc. And so we had already let everybody know and each other we were cool with the schedule of not having the show that weekend. But for some reason, he thought that there were 2 weekends involved. I don't know why a meeting would take 2 weekends, but somehow he totally missed it. So, but this weekend he let me know he was going to be involved in an event. Again, we're thinking about maybe changing the day and time of the netcast to better accommodate, because he's had to miss a lot, probably half the shows this year he's had to miss so far, and so I want to try and find a way to accommodate his changes in schedule to make it a little bit easier for him to be here all the time. So let's flip pages here on my. I used to have my laptop here to peruse the show notes as well as watch the chat room, etc. And of course now I have my Surface Pro 3, and I love this tablet. It truly has replaced my laptop. It's an awesome device. If you can afford to get one, I cannot encourage you enough to make the investment. It's well worth it. It really does give you the best of both worlds, which is fantastic. Perfect for me. Okay, so title episode is What a Load, and we're going to be talking about some things in the realm of task loading. So, but as we normally do, we have a couple of segments that we go through first before we get to the main course, as it were. Movie reviews. Absolutely none. Why? Because our local Cinemark theater is putting on crap. To be quite honest, 4 weeks ago, the third installment of Atlas Shrugged was released, but did our Cinemark carry it? No. Did it carry it the second weekend? No. Did it carry the third weekend? No. 2 weeks ago, the remake of Left Behind with Nicolas Cage was released. Did our theater carry it? No. Did our theater carry it this weekend? No. So, as a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull up what our local Cinemark theater is showing this week. It's all garbage for the most part. Cinemark.com. And, of course, you got to put your zip code in. Yes, there we are. So, Ouija. A stupid movie. Another scary movie. John Wick. Yet another stupid movie. Keanu Reeves needs to hang it up. He's not got anything. Fury, war movie. Book of Life, it's a cartoon that has nothing to do with actual life. Best of Me, chick flick, zero interest in seeing that. Alexander, again, half these movies have been on for 3 weeks. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Just nothing about that looks interesting. It's based on a book. Dracula Untold, again, another lame Dracula movie. And Annabelle, another lame, scary movie. And The Judge. While I like the two actors in this movie, the premise just not appealing at all. So, again, a lame week of movies in Del Rio, Texas. And, it's sad as we get towards the end of the year. This year, the movies are getting lamer and lamer. There's only, if I go back to my list, for those of you who watched the January episode, you know that we went through, there were 3 of us here, Troy, Robert, and myself. We went through our list of movies we were anticipating for the year. And looking at my list, I had... Oh, yeah, that was another one. Supposedly, there was another Resident Evil that was coming out in September. That never happened. Left Behind, no show. Project Almanac, which was previously known earlier this year as Welcome to Yesterday, was supposed to come out, I think, in May. Then it got slipped to October, and then it got slipped again to January of next year. What up with that? And so now that all that's left that I'm interested so far, there may be some surprises that weren't on a list somewhere. Between now and the end of the year, there's just 3 movies that I have any interest in. Interstellar, which really looks good. I hope that the trailer isn't the best part of the movie. That would suck in such a bad way. Let me make some adjustments on the focus here. There we go. We can bring you to a sharp focus or blur it into obscurity. Interstellar, that's with Matthew McConaughey, who's looking particularly rough these days. I don't know if it's because he's trying to look a certain way for some parts, but he's got this. I think it's a car commercial that they just show him driving, but he's doing the voiceover. Oh, excuse me, one moment while I pick up our guest host, one of our guest hosts, one of our dogs. Come here. And Ronan is making his appearance. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Oh, gosh. We're getting back here behind me before Chiana, who you may or may not hear barking up front, because it's Fallen Del Rio is such that you can often just open your windows and let the fresh air through. So we got the front picture windows open. And so we have a window seat the front of ours made for us that the dogs love. They hop up there and they just kind of lounge there and enjoy the breeze and then peruse dogs, cats, people, cars coming through the neighborhood, and they bark at everybody. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to get Ronan behind me in case he launched a barking routine. Barrage because he heard Chiana going at it. So anyway, where was I? Oh yes, Matthew McConaughey. He is in this commercial driving a car, doing a voiceover and then you just have to this and that, and it's kind of laid back and calm. But he just, in that commercial and some other things that I've seen him on TV, he's just looking kind of rough. Again, don't know what the deal is, but that was. Aside from that, he looks, looks perfect for, like, he's in good shape for this movie. But I think he's the only person I recognized in the clips. Could be wrong. But anyway, I'm interested to see that movie. And then Exodus, supposedly in December, which is based, well, I hope it's based on the Bible. Unfortunately, we found out with Noah that was Noah in name only, that bore almost no resemblance to biblical documentation whatsoever. It's horrible. And then finally, the last thing for this year, that's probably going to be around Christmas time, is the theatrical release, the film treatment of the Stephen Sondheim musical play Into the Woods, which we love. Tara and I love the actual play. With Bernadette Peters, she's absolutely captivating in the play. All the cast is excellent. It's just beautifully cast. I'm not as enthusiastic about the cast that they picked for the movie. I'm sure I'll be pleasantly surprised by some people in it. But it just frustrates me when they could get some of the actual Broadway performers to reprise their roles in these movies, or other people who are accomplished in musical theater to do this, instead of going for the big names in other genres of performing arts and film to do these roles, and hope that they can coach them to a level that those of us who are into the theater and follow plays and musicals in particular, we would appreciate. They're gunning for the people. They're drawing by the names rather than drawing by the talent. And again, sometimes you have those crossovers. Like Hugh Jackman is well established in musical theater and is excellent. He's a triple threat. He can sing, he can dance, he can act. And then you have the Anne Hathaways, who are just, I'm sorry, she's disgusting. She's a marginal actress, in my opinion, and she was lame in Les Mis. And in that movie treatment, they actually did have some members of the cast who were in the actual musical. So and you could tell, I'm sorry, maybe not your average person who goes to see Anne Hathaway because she's Anne Hathaway and you have no clue about actual acting talent. But those of us who are involved in the theater and can recognize accomplished talent for that kind of thing, I could tell in most cases anybody who they had to, I would look at them or listen to them and say they had to be in, if not in Les Mis, although if you're in theater for any length of time, you've done Les Mis. But if they weren't in Les Mis on Broadway or off Broadway in a touring show, they certainly are active in musical theater. And then you can tell the ones who are like, oh my gosh, they had to coach the heck out of them to get them to this point. So it should be interesting. Well, we're going to go see it, but for instance, I'm not Meryl Streep. Hate her. She was horrible in Mamma Mia, and so I just can't see her being in, especially since the role that she's playing in this movie adaptation is the role that Bernadette Peters played in it. You know what? I should see if I can find that too and show that to you all. Bing, love Bing. Bing just keeps expanding the things they can do. We're going to be touching a little bit on that here shortly. Just because Bing is integrated with Cortana, and it's just amazing where they're going with this. Let's see. Into the woods. Dun, dun, dun. Bernadette Peters.
Just on sometimes the spell may last.
That's interesting. Wow. Okay. That's an unintended consequence. Let's see if I can bring some images up. All right. Switch to screen region here. All right. So here's some shots of Bernadette Peters in Into the Woods as the witch. And what's funny is the witch starts out the show looking like this, and that's Bernadette Peters. But then she goes through a transformation and looks like this. Here's a picture of a scene from the play. And I'm sorry, there's just no way in the world that Meryl Streep is going to be as good as Bernadette Peters, who is an accomplished theatrical actress and singer. Oh, here's another great picture of her. Love it. Makeup was fantastic. Anyway, Bernadette Peters is just a fantastic. She's beautiful. She's a fantastic comedic actress. And she's done a number of movies, and of course accomplished on Broadway. She can sing, and it's just fantastic to see her. And then they throw Meryl Streep in this role. It just boggles my ever-loving mind that she's cast in it. So anyway, that is the last movie. So there's only 3 movies, unless a surprise happens. There's only 3 movies that I'm interested in seeing the rest of this year. So, which is unusual. Normally as we go into the holiday season, there are a number of movies that have a lot of buzz and I'm excited to see. Not so this year. This has been a fairly dry year for me, generally speaking, for movies. There have been little spurts here and there of movies I'm like, yeah, excited to see. But so Cinemark continues to throw garbage at us so it is what it is, I guess. So anyway, let me check the chat room real quick. Looks like there's nobody there. They keep changing. Ustream keeps changing the way their website works. Their chat section, when you go, if you're watching live and you go to you're seeing the page off to the right, there's a little chat area. And you can sign in and you can actually interact with the show. And in fact, we encourage you to do that. So, but you can, it used to be obvious in the lower right corner, there was a little thing you could click, a little icon, and it would break out the chat window separately. So you could do other stuff. Like, for instance, the way I have my Surface Pro tablet set up is I went to the Ustream website. Since I don't need to see it there, I actually see it on our server over here to my left. And I don't need to kill my wireless by trying to stream the show live on here. I just need to follow the chat room. But I do watch like the Facebook page for our Dive Club as well as my Facebook page. And in case there's any chat stuff going on there. So as soon as I break out the chat window, I navigate to my Facebook page, so I can watch that. So I don't have the Ustream page up. I just have the chat window broken out, which is tremendously convenient. However, now it's not obvious that you can break it out. You have to kind of move your cursor around in the screen, and then you see suddenly magically appearing before your very eyes a icon that suggests click it, and then you click it and it breaks out the chat window. Now, once it's broken out, you have 2 options. You have the social stream that you can click on. And then you have, what is this? Interesting. You have the social stream, and then you have the chat window. So I click on the chat so I can see that, and because that's more interactive. But you have to kind of move your cursor around again to see a little block that pops up that gives you the little gear that is the typical icon used for settings. And then above that is a little sketch of two little heads, two little torsos, busts, I guess, from the shoulders and the head. It's just two. So you click on that, and it switches the window to show you all the people in the chat room. Actually list their name. And then you have to move your cursor back down to a very, very faint chat, the word chat down at the bottom, to switch back to where you actually type something. So I'm not understanding what the design there is, but they keep doing this, and it frustrates me because they keep changing it, and it makes it less usable, or at least non-intuitive. It's kind of like Windows 10. What they're doing to it is horrible, but I'm not quite to that topic yet. So anyway, but I can be, as a matter of fact. So speaking of that, I've got a test machine here in the studio that I just throw everything at it. If it's going to be a tech preview or something, or some software that I'm going to test, I'll put it on there first rather than put it on our main studio computer or the server, which is basically feeding our media to our network, or my laptop, or my wife's laptop, or my Surface Pro. Put it on the test machine. And so I've been reluctantly running Windows 10 Tech Preview on there, and I hate it. I fully embraced Windows 8. They fixed a number of things that I still had some issues with when they fixed some of it in 8.1, but then they broke other things. They started puking some of the desktop concepts onto the Metro side, which I thought was stupid. I understand how to use a keyboard and mouse. In fact, I understand how to use touch. I prefer to use my mouse for things. The only thing I want to actually type is if I'm putting in words to search for, or if I'm actually composing something, a text, a Word document, inputting figures into Excel spreadsheet, whatever. That's the only time I want to type. Eventually, I'm hoping Cortana gets inculcated and it's all speech controlled, and I hardly ever have to type. That would be great. But anyway, so now Windows 10, because there are all these whiners out there who they still are, they're stuck, mired in the desktop, and unable to grasp the concept of Metro apps and how to push that development forward. Because the desktop in Windows 8.1 is still the same, except for one measly little thing that everybody was complaining about. Not everybody. Not people like me, who were apparently more intelligent and adaptable to moving forward. But the old start menu, where you click on the Windows button and it pops up and shows you the thing that most of the users that I deal with as an administrator, network administrator, they don't use that. They don't click on the start programs, all programs. No, they painfully, reluctantly search for what they want, and then they plaster it onto the desktop. I cannot tell you how many screens I walk by and find everything that these people use is an icon on their desktop. And I watch them. I stand there, I'm working on something, I'll observe other people in the room, see how they're using the computers. And with very, very few exceptions, they never click on the start button. Why? Because they've already gone through the process of pasting everything onto their desktop. So why not have... I want my glasses, hold on. Let me switch camera so I don't totally disappear. So the start screen in Windows 8, I think, is perfect because of a number of things I won't go into here, but it it moves us forward instead of backward. But instead with Windows 10, what they've done is they've brought all of that. Now you can have the start screen, but it's not really the start screen anymore. All the Metro apps run as a windowed app on your screen, which it looks horrible, and it just frustrates me. And I've been slamming Microsoft and everybody who likes that on Twitter and Facebook as much as I possibly can. And I've been commenting and complaining about how horrible Windows 10 is in their little insider app where you can, as you're trying out different things, most of which don't work correctly the way it does in Windows 8. And I just keep telling them, if you don't move Windows 10 to where change it so that people like me who actually want to move forward, we're not backward thinking like it seems like most of the people who are so-called power users. I laugh at that. If they don't make it so that we can go ahead and configure it to work like Windows 8, then I'm not moving forward. I'm just going to stick with Windows 8. There's got to be a way for them to let us configure it the way it should be. I think it's stupid the way that they're going with it, and it's driven by whiners holding on to Windows 7 all the way back to XP. Those are the people that we should not be catering to. We should be pushing them to move forward. Apple did it. Apple got away with saying, we're not going to ask them what they want. We're going to tell them what they need. And that's the way Microsoft should. They should have stuck to their guns and said, you know what? We're continuing to develop the Metro side. That's really where it should have been. Don't move all of this to the desktop. Move it all to Metro. Push the development of that. Make that better. Don't regress back to the desktop. So anyway, now what they've done is they've really hosed with this. They just pushed out or made available an update to the tech preview, and they added some different features that I have zero interest in, and they broke even more of the touch interface, or the interface that those of us who are very, very adept and comfortable using a mouse, unlike apparently most Windows users, don't work anymore. So it's very, very frustrating. And I will continue to complain to Microsoft that they need to bring that stuff back. And I see other people are feeling the same way I do. I'm surprised the number of people that have lodged the same complaints that I have. So I am not a fan of Windows 10 by any stretch of the imagination. There is nothing about Windows 10 that I like. I love Windows 8.1 with a few exceptions that I can stomach because they're annoying, but they don't break what I'm used to for the most part. So it was nasty. Now on the Windows Phone front, we were kind of surprised by another update that was made available by Microsoft, and this was it was a critical update, or so we thought, because that's what it said. It was very interesting. It really did almost nothing for the device, but you went through the whole update process as if you were loading Windows Phone 8.1 or one of the what's the word I'm looking for? Firmware updates from Microsoft, formerly Nokia. But what it really was a way to test their critical updates feature. So, and it apparently went very well. I didn't see a big I didn't see any hullabaloo about, from folks who have Lumias, and this was only for the Lumias, these beautiful devices right here. There was no hue and cry from people saying this didn't work. and it was independent. It was over the air, so it was independent of carriers, which is great. I think no updates should rely on the carriers, AT&T, Verizon, etc. But this was kind of a way for them to test their critical updates. So if similar to what they have in Windows, you get those updates. Say this is critical for your system to make it more secure, whatever. So I guess as preparation for future potential updates, they wanted to know that this new type of update would work. So they sent something that was sort of a placebo update just to test the process, which was great, and it worked fine. So I'm anticipating that we'll probably see those if anybody ever discovers a weakness in the Windows Phone, they'll be able to push that out fairly quickly because it went out to everybody. It wasn't rolled; it went out to everybody, which was great. On the Apple front, we're just ebbing the BendGate debacle with iPhone 6 Plus, and now they have what some people are calling what do they call it? Dyegate? No. Hit it on a page. Ooh. Yikes. The iPhone 6 apparently, if you have the gold version, has these plastic, I guess what they call antenna bands. Oh, I hate that. How can you stop this stuff? Oh, boy. I hate auto loading of videos when you go to websites. So let me switch to the screen.
It's Chevy Truck Month, a time when truck guys can depend on great offers on the 2014 North American Truck of the Year. Chevy Silverado, from the family of the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road. See your San Antonio.
Auto loading videos. Stupid. Just want to show this. Close the ad. Come on. Stop. All right. Close. They not understand the concept of closing an ad. All right. So switch to the screen region. So here's what we've got. We've got these antenna bands on the gold. I guess this only happens on the gold. But if you're wearing blue jeans, it does the dye. I guess they're calling it dyegate. The dye rubs off on the plastic, on this white plastic, discoloring it. So I imagine if you happen to grab the iPhone and you shove it like in your back pocket, camera end top first, which is commonly how people are if they're holding it in their hand, and they just reach their hand back and slip it down. So I guess the top edge would be pushed down into your pants, into your pocket first. Yeah, I could see how that would rub up against the blue jeans and the dye come off, but that's a minor cosmetic thing. It doesn't change the functionality of the iPhone, but it makes you wonder if somebody didn't try that. HTC with their Windows phones, they had a similar issue, but it turned out that, and it was actually on the body of the phone itself. I mean, for the HTCs, which had a similar kind of a polycarbonate body, but not quite the same material or composite that Nokia did with these, the body itself would get discolored. But somebody discovered that if you use the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, it would actually clean that off. So no reports yet as to whether or not that works on the iPhone 6. So be aware if you have a gold iPhone 6 that has these white bands on it, and you wear blue jeans, you may want to consider, if the cosmetics is important to you, you may want to consider not slipping it into your back pocket. So, let's see. Oh, I mentioned last week that I might be able to throw some video from Living Water Sound was at the craft fair, at the annual craft fair that is part of the Fiesta de Amistad weekend, whirlwind weekend of events. And if you recall from last episode, I came in, I was a little bit disheveled, a bit out of sorts when we started the podcast, because I was kind of in a rush to get things pulled together, because we got done at the park playing, performing, ministering. We got done late, got loaded out, everything loaded up back in the trailers and vehicles and everything a little bit later than we were expecting. So, so I didn't have time to take any of the pictures or video and drop them into a scene here for the show. So I mentioned that I might pull that together. So I actually do have a little bit of video from the event. I'll let you see a little bit what we're about. And let me bring that up. Here we go. That's Tommy Sondag on lead guitar there. And leader of our band right there in the middle, Rich Morneau, Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Air Force. And George McKnight, Public Affairs at Laughlin Air Force Base on bass.
You created me inside your great imagination. You're the one that gave me my first breath. You have overseen my life, brought me to.
And that's me on the back on drums.
And I know that you're not finished with me.
And backup vocals.
I'm reaching for you. I'm singing to you.
Normally I play keys in the band.
Lifting my voice to thank you. I'm reaching for you. Jesus, I need you. Giving my heart to know you.
But we just brought on a new drummer, and we've done a couple of things with him, but he was not available for this weekend. So I had to go for a while. Well, after we lost our first drummer, I had been playing drums because I can't.
Jesus, you have promised to lead the work you started. You're faithful to fulfill your grace in me. I'm reaching for you. I'm singing to you. Lifting my hands and praise.
This is, by the way, this is a cover of the song, contemporary Christian song, "Reaching for You" by Need to Breathe.
Jesus, I need you. Giving my heart to know you, Lord. Living my
I do have my keys set up there. You can see
I'm reaching for
a couple of songs that I start out playing the keys and then I shift over. Got my Surface Pro up on there for the charts.
Pour out your love from heaven. Fill me until I overflow. Lord, I want more. Reach down your hands from heaven. Pull me closer than ever before. Lord, I want more. I need more. Pour out your love.
Gotta say, it is a blast and an honor to play with these guys. I lead praise and worship at our church, and it's awesome. I thoroughly enjoy that. But this gives me an opportunity to not lead and do a little bit different, but still using the gifts and talents that God gave me. So that's a little bit of living water sound minus our normal drummer and me switching from keys to drums for the purpose of the event. So, it's interesting. Give you a little bit of background, a little history on me. I started out in grade school on drums. My dad, who's passed away, my dad played like 7 instruments, electric guitar, acoustic, 12-string, banjo, drums, piano, organ, harmonica, spoons. He was just very multi-talented, and he sang. Although years and years and years of cigarette smoking definitely impacted negatively his vocal prowess. However, early on, we discovered that I could sing, and Dad was kind of like son, pick an instrument. Well, a lot of my dad's side of the family, very talented. Well, actually, my mother could play organ a little bit, and she had a beautiful voice. But on my dad's side of the family, it was pretty much all about guitar. They were from the Ozarks, and so it was pretty much a pickin' and a grinnin' at the Wade household whenever family got together or whenever my dad was playing. Although he liked a number of different styles, his go-to music was definitely country music. And so I was like, okay, I don't ever want to hear country music again, so I truly hate country music. You're probably thinking, you're in Texas and you hate country music? Yes, I hate country music. I also live on the border, and I hate Tejano and conjunto and all that other stuff. Give me like Brazilian jazz or Caribbean or something like that, but none of the stuff that is popular here. So anyway, I was like, I don't want to do the country music, so I'm avoiding the guitar. Plus the fact that I was not enamored of having tried to figure out how to play just a basic chord on the guitar. That was just too much pain on the fingertips, because my dad had calluses that, they were so hard he could just like push his finger into sheetrock and not even feel it. He was just, that's how he'd played so long. But, so I decided, okay, I'll pick up drums. So I got my very first snare. Actually, in grade school, we had the little class that they had brought in a musician who was a director and all that, and he kind of tested everybody, see what they had propensity for. And he did remark that I had very good rhythm and control for being that young. So drums seemed to be a natural choice for me. So I said, I'll go with drums. And that started my efforts there. So, through grade school, junior high band as a drummer. After my parents got divorced, junior high in Joplin, Missouri, the drums there. And then when my mother remarried, we moved to Diamond, Missouri, and I joined the band. Among other things I did, I joined the band there, and it became part of the stage band as well, the stage band. So I got to really start learning to play a full trap set, as they called it back then. And eventually my dad helped me buy my first full drum set. So played in bands, and also actually ended up, because I was in choir in high school, I also had an opportunity a couple times to play the drums with the choir and sing. So that was kind of my first experience doing that. So, and then when I joined the First Assembly Church in Diamond, Missouri, I eventually became the drummer for they didn't really call it praise team then, but just the church band, I guess. We had a organ player, we had a keyboard player. It was a young guy named Josh, and a family that were they were kind of like the Osmonds, but a lot smaller. You know, everybody sang and played an instrument, and I was the oddball because I wasn't part of the family. So played drums during that period, and then I joined the Air Force, and as a one striper, you don't really have a lot of weight allowance that you can carry. Based on your rank, you get X amount of weight that the Air Force will pay for to move. RHIP, rank has its privileges. As a one striper, not a lot. So there were a lot of things I couldn't bring with me. The drums were one of them, so I sold them. So by the time I got to Del Rio, eventually, I was still singing because that instrument you carry with you everywhere. But eventually, I'd always kind of dabbled with the piano because I had an uncle who was actually more like a cousin because he was adopted and he was only a year older than me. But he actually was taking piano lessons, and so he had a piano, and I would sit down at the piano and kind of pick up some stuff. So I developed an ear for it, if not just a very much more than a basic. I can play a few chords kind of thing. Very simple. As a matter of fact, I have some old cassette tapes of some stuff that I played. It's just, I listened to it and I laugh because it's so simplistic compared to what I'm playing now. But, I was a teenager then. So anyway, I just gradually developed my keyboard ability and my ear, etc., to where that now has become my primary instrument. So that's what I lead praise and worship with. It's what I play in the band with. It's what I use in the studio here when I'm working on music for upstagers, shows, that kind of thing. And so it wasn't until just a few years ago when we started up a youth praise team at our church that we had a drummer, but he had school, and so a lot of times I would have to turn around and step behind the drums. So it kind of forced me to start to get my chops back up with the drums. I'd really forgotten how much I enjoyed playing the drums compared to playing the keys, because it's a different experience. But I'm certainly not in. I'm in good company as far as being a drummer and I've got a dog right by the camera stand here. Hazel, you're shaking the camera. Come here. I'm just anticipating that something's going to cause. It's our foster dog, by the way. Cause her to launch, and the camera's just going to go shaking and fall over like an episode of like the intro to Alf. Let me switch cameras here. So, hey, Hazel, it's enough. So, you've got like Peter Criss from Kiss, who is drummer and keyboard or pianist, and there's a number that are like that. So I guess I'm not alone in that particular aspect. And really, it kind of makes sense because the piano is both a string instrument and a percussion instrument, because you hit it with your hands, similar to xylophone or vibraphone or settle down. Instead of you using sticks, you're using a hand, so it's kind of like a congas or bongos or any of those hand percussive instruments. But because it's hammer striking strings, and it's chordal, it also is sort of a string instrument. uh, and requires a little bit of the same kind of control to do as it does with drums, but I don't have the dexterity or the length of these fingers to do what a lot of accomplished pianists can do, which is, they can play totally independently left and right hand, so that they're doing chords with the left hand, for instance, and melody with the right. For me, the way I play it is perfect for your typical vocalist because my voice is typically the melody. So I don't need my right hand to do that so much. So my right hand is decent at doing the chords and some movement in there. I'll do a little bit of stuff in there, but not a lot. And my right hand is, for the most part, just the bass line. So I'm able to accompany myself, which is great. But getting to pick back up the drums again, it was just kind of neat to get that feeling back again. And as it turns out, with the dynamics of what was going on with Living Water Sound, it put me in a position where I really needed to push my chops back to full capability again, because we had no other drummer. And while it definitely sounds weird, having played for so many years now with the band, where we've, a number of our originals are written with the keyboard element as part of the arrangement, it sounds weird. It feels weird to become more minimalist, like a garage band, having it like a 3-piece almost, where you don't have the keys that really add a flair and a beauty to a lot of the songs that we do. So it's kind of weird, but it's a necessity born of a change in the lineup that happens because we don't make a living at it. We do this as a ministry, and so people who have day jobs, they go off and do other things, and so that happens. So, but it was fun, and you can tell we enjoy what we're doing, and I think we're pretty good at it. I just really love playing with those guys. So anyway, that's a little bit of our band. Let's see, a little recap or touching on something from last week. It was zombie apocalypse, and we're talking about the Ebola issue. Well, the nurse that came down who had contracted Ebola was treated and is cured. And so they had a big press conference, and right on the heel of that, saying, "Hey, I'm cured," and everybody's happy. The president hugged her, photo op. We now hear a report that somebody in New York City has Ebola. So this is ridiculous. At some point, it's got to finally make sense to get rid of the politics of this and just figure out a way to stem the tide of people coming here from those regions. We can. Other countries are doing it. We can do it. We can say, all right, if you're coming from this country and you're not a specially designed charter type aircraft designed to contain diseases so that we can bring you in at a specific airport and transport you to via specially designed ground conveyances to a hospital to be treated, you're not coming directly from those countries here. It boggles my mind that we haven't already taken care of that, but it's political at this point, and I just want to scream at this administration for not being smart. I'm not in a panic mode. I live down here on the border of Mexico, so either it's going to come from the porous nature, because there's virtually nothing stopping people from coming across the border from Mexico. It's laughable. But compared to all the people flying from these infected regions to the U.S., they ain't flying in here. We have an airport, but it's private type aircraft and small corporate type things. Nothing, not the big airlines. We can't hold on to those long enough to make that a worry here. So in that respect, I'm kind of glad that we're down here, removed from exposure, or at least significantly removed from exposure, like Dallas or New York City, etc. So we'll be watching that carefully to see if we need to be a prepper. I do watch every once in a while. I'll catch those doomsday preppers. Some of them have some really interesting ideas. So, but I'm not quite there yet to follow in their footsteps. Let's see. General election coming up. Speaking of politics, general election coming up November 4th. If you meet the requirements by as laid out by our Constitution and the laws of your state, you know what you've got a responsibility as a free citizen in this, as a free citizen, not an illegal, but a free citizen in this country, to go and vote. If you're not here legally, don't even. If I find you, I'll turn you in. But that's how it's laid out. You're a citizen of this country. You meet the age requirements and the laws of your state, like Texas, thankfully, still held on to its voter ID law. So we can help stem the tide of fraud, which, I'm sorry, in Del Rio, Texas, there's fraud. But my personal opinion is I don't want anybody voting, whether you're meet the legal requirements or not. I just don't think you have any business voting if you're not an informed voter. We got too many people that just vote purely out of emotion, purely as a lemming. I like this person, and they have no clue what they stand for. And I see the video interviews of people when they ask some basic questions, and they're clueless. And these people vote. It should be, in my opinion, it should be people who have, even if I disagree with them, although I would also argue that if you're of a different political persuasion than me, you're probably not well informed. But there is the completely ignorant, and then there are people who are just misguided. But at least they're informed. They can answer some important questions, even if I disagree with their answer. I think only those people have any business going out there voting, because at least they're bringing some thought. Even if I disagree with them, at least they're bringing thought to the table. They've considered certain things. Again, even though I may disagree with them. But we got too many people that just go out there because they just want to make sure that their free lunch is taken care of. Or because grandpa this or grandma that. They have no independent thought when it comes to understanding the issues and voting. So personally, the thing about midterm elections, which means we're not electing a president this time. So we're in between those big general elections. The turnout is typically low. As a matter of fact, a couple days ago, I saw it reported here in Del Rio that the turnout, regardless of political party, was only 318 people for early voting. That's pretty sad. We have about 40,000 people, of which I am guessing about 30,000 are, or maybe about 30,000 are probably registered voters or eligible to vote. And so that's sad that we don't have more people voting. But it is what it is. So anyway, if you are a registered voter and if you've actually informed yourself about the issues and the candidates, it's your responsibility as part of this country, as a citizen, to go out and vote. So that's, if you're not doing the early voting thing, November 4th, go out to find your polling places, contact your county, if you're bound and determined to vote for a particular political party. I'm sure you can contact your local party leadership, and they will tell you, they'll be happy to give you the list of polling places that your residents put you part of. So let's see. Went diving last Sunday. because obviously I couldn't Saturday because we had all that stuff going on as part of Fiesta de Amistad. So went diving Sunday afternoon. Weather was meh, mostly cloudy, a little bit breezy, but I was bound and determined to get a dive in because it had been 2 weeks since I've been out there, and I was really, really curious to see, with all the rain that we'd had and the temperature drops, what the visibility was going to be like and what the temperatures were going to be like. Well, I dipped my little toe in the water, and it was chilly, so I was very glad that I had the dive trailer. So I slipped on my waterproof, and it's actually called Waterproof, the company. It's out of Sweden. Slipped on my waterproof 5mm full wetsuit, which I love, and no gloves, no hood, but always dive with boots. And I hit the water. I did not bring my camera this time. I showed you a video last episode of the dive 2 weeks before. Because I was two reasons why I decided not to bring my camera this time. I tend to bring it most times, but two reasons. One, I was going to be changing my dive profile. So since I was going to be in the 5mm full instead of my 3mm shorty, I knew that was going to be changing my weight distribution, and I was going to be, since it's been several months since I wore my 5mm, needed to get it reacclimatized to movement in that. As many dives as I do in a given year, it's still important to take that assessment of your dive profile. And by dive profile, I mean all the things that you're wearing and how you plan to use them. So I had to take all that in consideration and realize, okay, I don't need to task load because I'm changing that profile. Since I'm already going to be diving in an environment where I know I'm going to need light, I'm going to have some light. So it's much easier to concentrate on turning on and off and pointing a pistol grip light or BC light that I always have attached on my BC. It's much easier to balance that task loading than the draw that having a camera with lights on it, because that means that there's the temptation to record something either with still or video photography is very strong. So I didn't need that. And then also, in addition to changing my profile, I already had intended to dive that wall, even though I'd been diving on it several times in the last couple of years. My intent was to dive it a different way. Typically, I would drop off the entry point that I go to and quickly launch off the ledge and go straight to the bottom there, which is roughly at 90 feet now because of the lake level coming up. And I follow that along the contour till I reach my bingo air point and come back, and I usually work my way up as I'm coming back, so I'm getting shallower. This time I planned and I executed a shallower dive. I stayed at about 55 feet, although at one point there was something I wanted to see, and I quickly dropped down to, I think, 76 feet was my ultimate max. But most of it I spent around 55 feet. And again, because I was changing my planned dive type, my dive profile, I did not need to add additional task loading that a camera would bring to that. And it's a good thing I didn't, even though I saw a number of things I wish I'd had the camera for, but it was a very different dive at Spur 454 than it was at 55 than it was at 76, 86, 90 feet. So the contours were different. There are a lot more mini caves there. It's great. I mean, there's fantastic stuff to see. I even saw a really monstrous catfish tucked away in one of the mini caves. That was one of the things I wish I'd had the camera for. But having said that, it was different enough that, and the water was colder, I was in my thicker wetsuit, that I'm glad I didn't have the camera. I'm hoping the weather will hold for tomorrow. I was kind of hoping to get a dive in today. Unfortunately, even though the weather was perfect for it, I had a number of things that we were involved in. We had to get up, dark 30 this morning. I hate getting up that early on a Saturday, but I had to because Tara and I were singing the national anthem for the kickoff of a big wingman event, 5K, 10K thing that they were doing at the base. So we were doing national anthem for that. So we had to get up early, and then we went to vote. So we've done our civic duty. We voted, and then I needed to clean up our vehicles, which have kind of been neglected. And as it turns out, I also had developed I had an issue with my car, my Mustang, that I finally just got angry enough that I needed to try and fix. So I ended up visiting the local auto parts store, getting a part that I needed and fixing that. And so with that, cleaning the vehicles, etc., it was pretty late in the afternoon, and Grace is wanting back up again. It was pretty late in the afternoon before I got all that done, and I really needed to get into the studio, finalize all the materials I needed for the show tonight. So there really wasn't much time to go out there and do a dive. So I'm hoping that the weather will be decent tomorrow so I can get a dive in. And I may or may not take the camera. I plan on making the same dive that I made last week, but I'm not sure that I'm comfortable enough with the changes to allow myself task loading. So that prompted me to kind of look up some things about that, and I saw that in the latest copy of Scuba Diving Magazine, there was an article about task loading and new divers. The question was asked: should new divers be carrying, or should they be using cameras and things like that early on? And the general comment, and I totally agree with this, was basically, no, you need to get quite a few dives under your belt before you start thinking about adding more task loading. This can be anything from cameras to spear guns. I get a lot of people asking me about, hey, do you spearfish here? Well, at Lake Amistad, the only thing you can spearfish are the junk fish, so carp, that kind of thing. You can't even spearfish the catfish. So you can go after carp, drum, or alligator gar, but that's about it. So, but the thing is, here's the thing to remember. As a new diver, you've acquired these brand new skills, and you're by no means proficient. Every diver develops at a different rate, fine-tunes their dive style and their knowledge of their equipment, their body, neutral buoyancy being a key skill. Each diver is different in how quickly all of this becomes second nature to them. I don't even think about neutral buoyancy because it is so automatic for me. Part of that is born of an intentional effort to really get good at it, but part of that is born of the sheer fact that I dive a lot, and I am so in tune with my equipment and my body that neutral buoyancy is very easy for me. If you've seen any enough of our episodes, you've probably seen video and pictures of me upside down vertical. I love doing that for two reasons. One, it just looks cool. Two, and it's a little bit of a show off. But two, it forces me to really keep fine-tuned my buoyancy. I can, when we go to Balmorhea State Park, I always do at least one dive where I spend a lot of time vertical, inverted, and with my knees bent so that my feet are kicking me along. And I'll even videotape. I've got some videotape of me doing that. It's not me holding the camera upside down. I am upside down, and I'm literally cruising along with my head just inches from the bottom. and I'm videotaping, and I'm just swimming along. That just shows you that I've become so comfortable with my buoyancy control that I can do that kind of task loading. But the thing is, it takes a while to get to that point. I can't imagine having told you now about my concerns about bringing the camera along when I was changing the wetsuit I was using, which means I changed the weight that I'm using, and where I was diving in the water column. There was enough difference there that I felt that bringing a camera along was too much task loading to have a completely relaxed, enjoyable dive. It would be safe because I'm just that attentive to all of the aspects of safety. But the truth is, because I'm paying attention to that, I want to fully relax into the dive. And I can't do that if I'm more distracted than I'm normally used to as part of a dive. So the thing is, what you should, as a new diver, strive to do is dive as frequently as possible. And that's what I tell students. After you get certified, dive as frequently as you can. Don't get your card, go off on a trip, a cruise to Jamaica, do a couple of dives, because that's about all you'll have time for. Do a couple of dives and then don't dive again until your next vacation trip. That is a huge mistake. Don't become a saltwater snob. And by that I mean you'll only dive in saltwater. You'll only dive in the tropics. Find places to dive closer to where you are. Find people to dive with closer to where you are. Get your skills tight. And the quicker that you get there, the quicker you get your buoyancy control down, the quicker you get all of your skills to become more innate, or not innate, second nature, then the quicker you can add things like carrying lights, spear guns, cameras. Because let me tell you, it is a lot of fun to videotape, take pictures underwater. It is a lot of fun. As you've seen from some of the videos I have. Even in places where the visibility is horrible, there are things to see. There is something to create a memory from, about, for, whatever. But don't try to task load yourself. Don't go out and buy a GoPro because now I can do this because you can use it underwater and I want to do all this stuff. Get your skills tight first, and then start to task load. Then think about doing the night dives. The night dives add another dimension to this as well, because now you can only see what your light can shine on. Now, I say that diving out here right now in Lake Amistad during the day it's pretty much a night dive, as you probably noticed from the video. It was middle of day. The video from last week is middle of the day. But I'm down at 85, 90 feet, and I'm along a wall where the rock actually comes out over and creates a shadow. So I'm actually almost in cave-like conditions, and it's dark. And so the only way you're seeing anything is to turn, is to have lights on. But that's a distraction if you don't have anything else. If all your skills are still a little, still pretty green. So get your skills tight and develop those before you add cameras, spear guns, and other things to mix. Now, speaking of that, the organization that I'm certified through, and that most of the world is certified through, PADI, Professional Association of Dive Instructors, has started a new program called ReActivate. And let me reload the page here. And screen region. Okay, so bring off the. Here we go. So ReActivate. Love this. So they've got this new program that's kind of like a super refresher, and it involves the PADI app. If you've got Android or iPhone, you can install this app. I've been asking about a Windows Phone version because I have a lot of diver friends that are actually Windows Phone users. So anyway, they have this program that you can sign up for either through the app or go online, and it kind of takes you through scenario-based testing to bring bring your skills back up to date, and then you complete that portion, and then we do some in water practicals. So in that respect, it's very much like the refresher course. So this would be something you use if you've been out for quite a while. To be honest, this is another money-making venture for PADI. But the intent behind this is to go out and instead of being passive about doing the refresher course for divers who finally decide, you know what, I'm going to get back into it, is going out and actually actively seeking them, saying, okay, here's a program you get a little ReActivate card with it. It's basically what this does for you. If you've been away out of it for a while, it helps encourage you to get back into it, and it brings your knowledge and skills back up to date, especially if you've been away for long enough that the things that you learned originally to get your certification may have changed. A number of the requirements and standards may have changed since then, and so being able to take a course that brings your knowledge and skills up to current standards has some value to it. So if you're interested in just seeing what that's about, if you go straight to PADI.com. As a matter of fact, let me go back to their main page. So if you go to their main page, golly, what's going on with the website? And this is right there. This is what shows up at the first page. Reactivate your certification. So pretty cool. So that's their new program, is the ReActivate program. So I encourage you to check that out, and I'll be getting materials, etc., that go with that, because I actually do run into a number of people who've been away from it for a while, and I've just been taking them through the regular refresher course. But this may be more beneficial for those who've been away for a really long time. I'd say about 3 years or more. And also, it's about that time of the year again. Every year there is a show called DEMA. It's the Dive Equipment Manufacturers Association, and they go back and forth typically between Las Vegas and Orlando for the event. This year it's in Las Vegas. Of course, PADI figures heavily in that, but it's not just about PADI. They have a number of special seminars, events. Matter of fact, let's see if they have. Here's the floor plan. Here we go. It's huge. These are all the booths, etc., that are going to be at this event center. As you can see, there's a lot. So you come in, registration area, you have underwater, all these different vendors are going to be there. Exhibitors, I guess. And it's huge. I've never actually been, and you can only go if you are like a dive shop or a dive professional. So as far as PADI's concerned, that would be a dive master through all the way up. So dive master, instructor, master instructor, course director, all that stuff. So those are the only people that can actually go there, because they're trying to convince you to buy products, invest, but you can get a number of interesting seminars for training, as well as pick up in some cases you may be able to pick up samples of new things. There's typically a lot of little giveaway trinkets you can get, as you typically know with any convention type thing. So, but that is in November, typically November, and this year it's the 19th through the 22nd, in Las Vegas. So you go to the website, just go to DEMA Show, DEMASHOW, DEMAshow.com. If you want to find out more about this year, if you happen to be a dive professional, or you just want to see about what it's all about and what kind of things will be going on, they have a list of the seminars at some place. Matter of fact, I think the latest scuba diving or the Undersea Journal magazines have a list of some of the seminars that are going on that PADI is presenting. PADI also, on the night before these shows, typically has a big get-together. So on the 18th of November, PADI has this big party that they have the evening before. So they invite your PADI membership to show up there, and they have prizes and things like that, and speakers, and it's a big rallying thing. Hey, we can be more profitable, blah blah blah. So DEMA this year, 19th through the 22nd in Las Vegas. I would love to go some year just to check it out. Come back with some free trinkets to give out to other divers around here. Let's see. That covers all of those things. Oh, I mentioned earlier about Bing, because I try to avoid anything that's Apple or anything that's Google. You can't completely get away from those because, for instance, when it comes to music, there are a number of musicians, bands, artists who will only make their music purchasable via iTunes. And so I do have an iTunes account for the one-offs, onesie, twosie type artists that I can own. The only way I'm going to get their music is through iTunes. So I'll do that. And then with Google, I have a Gmail account because that's how I had to access the YouTube, because when we get done with our shows, we upload those to YouTube. And same with our church. We do our Sunday morning services and our Wednesday services. We live stream those as well using Ustream TV. But we also upload those to our YouTube channel there. So there's kind of things you can't really avoid if you want to be out there at all. But you can minimize the damage, and I do. My search engine, Bing, period. There's nothing that I like or ever want to use with Google as a search engine. So I use Bing. But the benefit is as Cortana, the digital assistant that is part of the Windows Phone ecosystem and is expanding to the PC and is expanding to Xbox, they've been adding more capability that goes beyond that which is contained in the typical other Google or other search engines. Bing has become very, very accurate in predicting things. They predicted a number of sports events and have incorporated this artificial intelligence, if you will, into the kinds of questions and things that you can ask or have Cortana follow for you. And interestingly, they're incorporating, as we come into the general election, they're incorporating some search tools predicting there. And I thought it was interesting when I went to Bing.com and just did a search on general election 2014. Here's what came up. I just thought this was kind of interesting. Right off the bat, it shows you at the top of the window, it shows you some of their Bing's predictions. So you've got what's going to go on. Of course, the big discussion right now is whether or not the Senate is going to change control. And this is what Bing thinks is going to happen. I thought this was pretty cool. The different scenarios of how many seats the two major political parties are going to have. Bing is predicting that it will shift to Republican control with 52 seats against Democrats 48. So basically, it's about going to flip, because I think that's what it is now. It's 52-48 in favor of Democrats. And that's 21% chance of that happening, of all of these. And then 13% chance that it will flip as a 51-49. 19% chance they might actually get 53, and 14% chance that might get a flip of all the way to 54. And then there's a 9% chance that it literally goes down to a split, 50-50, which of course means it's still Democrat control, because the Speaker of the Senate, the President of the Senate is by our Constitution is the Vice President, so he would cast the deciding vote. And then a 6% chance that it still remains a Democratic controlled Senate. And then you can switch to see what's going to go on with governors, and which again, it just breaks it down. What state you're curious about tells you what the chances of the particular candidates winning or losing. Same thing with the House. You can switch to the House, see what Bing predicts there. Let's see if I can get it to scroll up here. So I guess in no scenario do the Republicans lose control. It's pretty much not a lot of movement there. 8% chance that it's either 236, 237, or 238. No? Or 239. So in favor of the Republicans. Then it drops a little bit if they think they're going to increase, but they may actually lose some, but not enough to actually lose control. So it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely going to follow this, because while I do obviously have a political bent that I would favor the outcome of, as a tech person, as a person who loves Cortana and how featureful she's becoming. I'm more curious about how accurate, because Bing has been pretty darn accurate with predictions so far in sporting events and some other things. So I would really be curious to see if Bing is gaining algorithms and the ability as a mechanism to take in enough data to be a reliable predictor of future events based on a number of variables. If let's say, really, Bing could be right since there was 8% chance of 236, 237, 238, or 239 in favor of Republicans for the House, any one of those would mean Bing was spot on. If let me go back to the Senate one again. If the Senate ends up being 52 Republicans against 48 Democrats when the election's over, then that was the highest percentage chance that Bing predicted. That would be pretty amazing to say that Microsoft is doing a fantastic job of developing Bing's ability to correlate data in a meaningful way that would help in decision making. You know, it's interesting to constantly refer to Cortana as a digital assistant when you have a personal or a personal assistant. When you have a real personal assistant, those who have lofty positions where you have a personal assistant, when you have a personal assistant, there are a number of things that person does for you. They keep track and organize for you so you don't have to, and so they present information, and if they really get to know you, they actually help you make some decisions that maybe that's not their actual purview to do. If you run a corporation, you may have a personal assistant that helps you with a number of things that ultimately, by what they say and what information they provide to you, helps you come to corporate decisions based on personal information, personal world environment information. So if Bing and by extension Cortana gets to a point where the reliability of the information that is volunteered to you or presented upon request to you can help you make adequate, proper, efficient decisions, that I think that's a huge boon for Microsoft when it comes to their ecosystem. So it'll be interesting to see what that outcome is. We'll know in just a few days, November 4th. So make sure you go out and vote. But only if you're an informed voter. Let's do, as we head out here, hour and a half in the show, let's do some administrivia real quick. So, next Dive Club meeting, November 20th, coming up on Thanksgiving Day, Turkey Day. November 20th, 7 p.m. at Rudy's Restaurant. And as I've said before, last few episodes, we're done with the scheduled dive classes for this year. But if you're bound and determined and you've got the proper gear and you don't mind spending a lot of time in some pretty chilly water, and it's getting chiller, like I said, 73 degrees, the last dive that I did. I will do a class by request, but it won't be cheap, that's for sure. If you do need air fills, and I have had people ask me that question. Oh, no. I have to mute the mic as they go wild. We must have neighbor dogs. Let me mute this for a moment. Okay, had to expel a dog from the studio here. See, that's the downside of having a studio where the dogs have free reign. We obviously can't afford a real studio completely isolated, but it would be awesome. But it's free for the most part, and it's what we deal with. So anyway, I have had some folks come to me asking about air fills, even this late in the season. And so if you are in the Del Rio area and you need an air fill, just check out Mike McCarson at the Broke Mill RV Park out on Highway 90 West. Just give him a heads-up call so he knows you're coming and he can fire up the system. Just give him a call at 830-719-2935. Also, as a public service announcement, we volunteer weekly at a pet rescue called A Pet's Wish here in Del Rio. And God bless them, they keep accepting more animals, or people keep dumping more animals on them. They really are beyond capacity. They desperately need volunteers. So if you're in the Del Rio area and you just have a couple hours in the morning or the evening that you could volunteer, please contact them. Look them up on the web. Look them up on Facebook. A Pet's Wish. And volunteer. They need, the more volunteers that they have, that they can spread across the various evenings and mornings and days, the less you have to volunteer. You know, if you only have to put in a couple hours a week or every couple of weeks, that'd be awesome. But that only happens if you can get enough people to actually do that. So please give them a call. They're really, 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 I cannot stress how much they really need more volunteers. If you'd like to keep in touch with what's going on in the dive community here in Del Rio, you can see some somewhat static information. It's just more I do update things like lake conditions, and I'll throw after trip reports when we go on our dive trips to Belize or whatever. So you can see what those of us real folks do and what we think of those places. We throw those kind of videos and things like that up. And I'll also keep the dive classes and information you can download about the dive classes, what you need, etc. There, just go out to our dive club website. Just go to delriodiveclub.com, or if you want to keep more up to date with transitional stuff, things that we're doing on the fly, like, hey, we're going diving this weekend. Check us out on Facebook. Just look for Del Rio Dive Club. Also, you can send us messages via Skype, which is also their messenger service, is what Microsoft Messenger or Windows Messenger became. Just look for TGWD, which stands for Two Guys Who Dive. And if you would like to send me emails, just write to me at robert.wade@setifox.net. Or you can follow me on Twitter. Just look for, follow at RobertCFP, Charlie Foxtrot Papa, or Ceti Fox Productions. And I'll more than likely follow you unless you're a troll or obnoxious. I'll follow you back if you follow me. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, kind of thing. And that pretty much closes us out for this week. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, I should be back again next week and hopefully have Robert with me. Let me check my schedule. Nobody in the chat room. Let me pull up my calendar. I do. As we get into the holidays, a lot of things start to take over our schedule and it gets even tighter. If you only saw my schedule, you'd be amazed at how many things are plugged in. I don't understand how people. First, I don't understand how people live in this area and say there's nothing to do. I wish I had more nothing to do. That would be great. It would give me more free time. I have a lot of friends that are into gaming, and I just don't get to game that much anymore. I find a half hour maybe here or there that I can do anything, and it just frustrates me that I don't get to do more of it. Thank goodness for DVR, because there's a number of shows that we watch regularly, but we don't often get to see them as they're actually broadcast. We either watch them on Hulu Plus later, or we have the DVR set to record it, and then we just kind of binge watch when we have on the couple of evenings off that we actually have. Let's see. Oh, another announcement I can't believe I didn't put on there. If you're in the Del Rio area and you're doing the trick-or-treat thing, our church, Grace Community Church, out on 709 Kings Way, we do an annual, we kind of try to take the night back, take Halloween back. We have what we call Hallelujah Night. So it's all outdoors outside of our church. We have a big basketball court area and kind of a grassy area next to that. We do bounce castles. We do bull ride, not a real heavy-duty one, but low-key one. A number of little games and things, cakewalk, etc. We have food. It's free. It's all free. Everybody gets a bag of candy, and we've got hot dogs and sodas and popcorn and cotton candy. And you don't have to bring, you come as you are. We even have we have door prizes. So if you stick around long enough, you take your ticket that you get when you come through. And again, it's free. If you stick around long enough, you could get one of the prizes. I'll be emceeing. We have little booths that you go to, the little games you can play, and you get little prizes and things like that. We even have a big costume contest, and you don't have to bring. It doesn't have to be a religious thing. You can just bring whatever you're dressed up as. We're not trying to change your world, for your habits for Halloween. Just come as you are. We just want to provide this for people. So go check that out. If you're making your rounds, just head out on Kingsway, 709 Kingsway, and check it out. Hallelujah Night at Grace Community Church. Starts at 6 o'clock, I believe, 6 to 9 or 6:30 to 9. So check that out. Bring the kiddos. Have a good time. Have some free food and free candy and all that fun stuff. And it's going to be safe because we're looking out for you guys. We're trying to provide a safe environment for you guys to enjoy the evening and taking it back from the crazy people. So check that out. But see, don't believe I've got anything going on. That is November 1st. Hard to believe. The next show will be starting the last 2 months of the year. Wow. Before you know it, be New Year's, and we'll be doing working up for our, matter of fact, we really need to be thinking about that too. Our first show of the year, we need to start looking up our movie list to see if we have a better year in 2015 than we had for 2014. So, all right, well, that takes care of everything else I can think of. So we should be back with you next weekend, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Hopefully we'll have Scuba Bob back in the studio with you. Nobody in the chat room this week. That's a shame. Would have liked to have interacted with somebody, but we always encourage you to visit us. If you're watching live, jump in the chat room. We'll take comments, we'll take questions, we'll interact with you live on the show, and then you'll be recorded forever for posterity as we upload it to YouTube. But if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you get the notifications. And, oh, by the way, we also added, let me see if I can bring that up here. We added on our Facebook page to help make it easier for you. Yikes. There we go. We added, let me switch screen regions. We added a tab. We installed an app for Ustream on our Del Rio Dive Club webpage. So if you go there, you'll see that you can click on Ustream Live tab, and it brings you to the app. This should be interesting. And you see it shows, if we're live, it shows we're on the air. And then if you click on the play, it will pop open another screen, and you can watch the show. So it's an easier way to get you connected with us, and you can see the show. When it's not showing, it basically is a blank screen. It shows we're off air. So it's a quick way to access the show without trying to remember bit.ly/TGWDive. But dogs are whining to get in and out, and just in time because we're pretty much done here. Listen, again, I really appreciate those who have been watching the show, have comments. Spread the word. Let more people know about it. Get the viewership up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we will see you next week on another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive. See ya.